Thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be able to get out of my kitchen, which is where I spend most of my time. To be my laptop in my kitchen. I have a very fancy office at the real estate board. I never told you. One day we're going to have to talk about that building because there's only there's 100 people who work at the real estate board. There's maybe 20 in the building at a time. What is that? Like a $50 million asset that we don't clear title. We don't have a mortgage. You don't have a mortgage on your home. So anyway, it's nice to be invited out. So thank you very much. And sorry, I don't speak Mandarin or Cantonese. Well, I actually took some Cantonese classes once, but I can't. This is too hard. The only thing that stuck in my mind was Zhonghua Boji, the Chinese newspaper or something, right? I don't know why that stuck in my head. What is that? Zhonghua Boji? Yeah, right? Yeah. I don't know. Really bad. Did I say something rude? Oh, I hope I didn't. But I'll just stick to English. I can maybe speak some French for you, but anyway, that's me. That's the contact information. Should you need to reach me, but please talk to your managing broker first. They're always the first person to talk to. You know why? Well, first of all, because there's 15,000 of you and one of me, so I would really rather that everyone talks to the managing broker first. But secondly, Sonia and John are possible. Question, it usually means you don't know something. So why would you guess? Talk to your broker. Because they're responsible. So if you get into trouble, they get into trouble. So it seems only fair that you would talk to them. And if they don't know, then yeah, they can help you figure out who does know the answer to that question. Anyway, so there we go. That's my contact information. And so just there. Oh, the bottom. Oh, so there's quite a lot of stuff on my menu tape. I mean, just don't be intimidated by that. I'll go quickly, and there's going to be a question and answer period for you as well. But basically, in our rear view mirror, it's been a very busy couple of years. Government seems to have decided it's going to focus on us almost exclusively, and it's understandable. Housing's big problems, So the cooling off period, that's, I want to ask you a question because we thought it would be a big deal. Right? Have any of you ever had a buyer rescind a contract? I don't. I ask this question all the time when I do a meeting like this, and sometimes one hand goes up. It's almost like it's okay, fine, you've got a rescission period, but at least up to this time, rescission doesn't seem to be happening. So that's good information to share with your nervous sellers, right? No, it's going to be rescinded. You say, well, that's not our experience. People don't rescind their offers very often. I don't know what the percentage is. I think the BCFSA is trying to figure that out with this data call. So we'll have a number, but if it were 1%, I would be astounded. I'm sure it's less than that because no one ever puts up their hand. So either they're scared of me, or they don't know, or they haven't had one. So anyway, okay. So the foreign buyers ban, that's still in effect. But it's been in effect for what, a year and a half, I think. Okay, since this labor mobility, right? And so that's why it was brought in as a temporary measure for an emergency. That it was a 2-year thing. I haven't heard anything about it being renewed, but there's a lot of Americans who own property in Whistler, right? Yeah. And yeah, all over the place, and so there are major trading partners. So I can't imagine the Prime Minister wants to irritate them too much. China maybe. Not the Americans. Okay. All right. So then there's something called, I'm unused housing tax, which I know nothing about, other than I think it's kind of like a speculation tax where the owner fills out a form and there's a filing date. Except now, so now you get to do 3 if you live in Vancouver. I have to do 3. I do 1 for the city of Vancouver. I do 1 for Mr. Eby. So they're going to be doing 1 for Mr. Trudeau. You'd think that they figure out 1 database would be nice. So just do that. So, but anyway, just maybe talk if you're dealing with people who maybe are not resident in Canada or they're new to Canada, and I kind of think probably you do, and I think that's may not be on their radar. So if they have a piece of real estate just sitting there, residential real estate, nobody in it. There is now a federal tax, potential issue for them, right? So if they've got loads of money, who cares? But most people don't have loads of money, so and they would probably appreciate it if you remind them, this federal tax. Anyway, you can look into that. Then Mr. Trudeau has come up with something called a Buyer's Bill of Rights, which is interesting because regulating real estate is a provincial jurisdiction, not federal jurisdiction. But that's never stopped him before from weighing in on all kinds of things. So we have not seen the Buyer's Bill of Rights. I suspect it's going to include something called transparency, that very popular word, and it'll probably have some kind of focus on multiple offers. And it may require, at its on one side, it may be like an auction where everyone knows what everyone else is bidding. It might be that, or it might be you just get to know who made offers, which we are already doing. So we don't really know what they're going to come up with. Haven't heard much about that, have we? It's been very quiet. Who knows? I think Mr. Trudeau has other things to worry about. So maybe it's on the back burner. We don't know. But closer to home, we have the BCFSA, right? Yeah, is this got a pointer in it? Yeah, it does. Yes. Is it that? Oh, good. I love pointers. Okay, I'm talking about this right now. New team rules. So that was on April 1st. Anybody have a team here? Some people have teams. Okay, so you're all registered, right? Yes. Good. Okay. Well, good. Because if you're not, you're going to have a problem. It used to be that a husband and wife team didn't have to register, but that went away in April. Okay, so just make sure you know that and your friends know that. And then the real estate board harmonized its team registration requirements to match BCFSA. So anyway, if you don't have a team, don't worry.
Do you have to register the unlicensed assistant as well? Or your admin staff?
Yeah, if they want access to Paragon, for sure. If they have an assistant license, I think it's called. It's a nominal fee. You know why that is? It's not because the board needs your $15 a month or however much it is. It's for security. Paragon has a lot of data in it, sellers' names and stuff like that. Most of which we share with the public, but some of it's not. And so we have a security system that maybe you don't know about that recognizes your keystrokes. Did you know that? Yeah. When you log in, it looks at your IP, it looks at your device, and it recognizes your keystrokes. So you have a profile. And so if someone else uses your login codes and they type differently, the computer goes up. And the alarm goes off in our security department. Then you get a phone call saying, "Who is that person using your login code? You need to change it." So you can find you change it. But for an assistant, if you've got someone logging in for you all the time, doing work for you because you're their assistant, they mustn't use your code because the computer will, after a while, it will notice it. And then you get a call from us. So just give the assistant their own access code and the computer will recognize them. That's what that's all about. Okay, so okay, so then there's these acronyms here. Who knows what IDRPO stands for? What's that stand for? Irrevocable regarding presentation of offers. Yeah, give her a hand, well done. Okay, yeah, and I don't want to turn this into an IEEE seminar, but just make sure, gang, just make sure that if you have a listing where the seller wants to delay presentation of offers, you have to have that instruction in writing. I'll go through it, then I'll come to you, okay?
So like you talk about maybe a residential commercial too, right?
Not just residential. Yeah. No, sorry, it's all listings. It's all listings. Just commercial people don't do this.
Sometimes it's not putting on Amazon,
Yeah.
it's putting on
Well, yes, that's right. So exclusive listings, there's no requirement to cooperate, so there isn't another agent unless you want there to be. And if you're allowing other agents to bring offers and there's more than one, then yeah. Okay, so good question. So here's the deal. There's two options that you have when you have a new listing. Okay, two options. You can go option one, which is the standard option, and that means you don't use an IEEE at all. You just take offers when they come in. If there's more than one to present it at the time, you present them all at the same time, but you're not delayed. And the rule says that you must present offers without delay. Now, it doesn't define what without delay means. So if some of your clients are in Richmond, if everybody's in Richmond, without delay means, I don't know, tonight, tomorrow morning, pretty soon. Maybe your clients, one of them is in China. Well, okay, so without delay means something a little longer than that to be reasonable, right? So if you just want that, take offers as they come in, you don't have to do anything. But if your seller says, I don't want to look at offers until next Wednesday, because we're hoping for a good open house, right? Then you have to have a written instruction to override without delay. And the only acceptable written instruction is the IEEE form, so don't mess it up, okay? And irrevocable means it cannot be changed. It cannot be changed. And so if you try to change it, you will get a $15,000 fine. Okay, so pay attention. If you don't have to do IEEE, but if you choose to do IEEE, stick with the plan. Don't deviate from it. So the risk to you guys is that you explain it to your client, and then suddenly your client says, yeah, but I want to see offers on Tuesday. And you go, well, sorry, I can't present you the offers. Well, I'm insisting that you show me the offers. So, well, you need to go to the dictionary and look up irrevocable. It means cannot be changed under any circumstances. So you make sure you explain that to your sellers before they sign that form. You say, are you sure? You know, because I can't change it, even if you order me to. If you want this, I'm fine with it. But don't call me and say change it. And then after the date has come and gone, if the place isn't sold, you don't have to do another IEEE. You could just go with the regular IEEE box. Okay, so anyway, that's what that is. And the DeMott, this thing, that's kind of like, the buyer's bill of rights thing that I was talking about. How many times have you had a buyer? You phone the seller's agent, you say, hey, yeah, I got my buyer's likes your property. We're going to write an offer. And the seller's agent says something like, yeah, well, good, lots of interest. I got about 5 offers, maybe more. Have you ever said to yourself, how do I know if that's true? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I get buyers call me and they go, what, are we just supposed to take the word of the seller's agent? I mean, it's a pretty sad day when human beings don't trust each other, but when money's involved, a lot of money, sometimes trust is not that high. So, when a seller's agent says, yeah, I got 3 offers. Or you phone them, you got any offers? No. Great, I'm going to write one. And then 15 minutes later, they phone me back and go, oh, I got an offer. What? Well, where did that come from? Right? Now, but it might be legitimate. Maybe that buyer said something like, if an offer comes in, phone me and I'll make one. It could be that. But they could also be lying. Right? So how do you know? And so that form is intended to address that for you and your buyer, because we think that if the seller has to sign a form that lists all the offers presented, it's gonna be hard for the seller's agent to make stuff up. Right? That's the thinking behind that form. And all it has is just the name of the, the buyer's brokerage, the date of the offer. That's it. It doesn't have any details on the offer. So you within 24 hours will get a form from the seller's agent, signed by the seller's agent, signed by the seller saying, last night we presented 5 offers. Here's the buyer's brokerage's names. Show that to your buyer. Go, oh, well, there were 5 offers, and ours wasn't the best one. Okay, that's all you will know. It's a little step towards giving some comfort to people. That's the thinking behind it. Okay. Mr. Eby has announced a flipping tax because it's not like the NDP has created not enough taxes. I mean, how many taxes they create? You can tell I don't like the NDP. They've probably created 15 new real estate taxes since 2016 when they came in. Speculation tax, this tax, that tax. Oh, this is a new tax. So you don't know anything about it, but you should understand it when it comes in. Make sure you read about it, because it means that if you own a property for a short time and you make some money on it, not only will you pay capital gains tax, you'll also pay an extra provincial tax. It's not in effect right now, but I'm pretty sure it's coming before Christmas. A lovely Christmas present. Okay, now I'm going to talk about stuff that you don't know about, because I figure you already know about all that stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. So in yellow, this thing here. So you do commercial, right? This doesn't apply to you. You can look out the window. Don't pay attention. This is only residential real estate. Okay, so how many of you have on WeChat a private marketing group? So when you get a new listing, you send it out to your pals on this little closed group. Do any of you have stuff like that? Like a lot of them are on WhatsApp, but I said WeChat because I'm here. So do any of them do that? Probably. Okay. Sure. It's on MLS maybe, but for exclusive listings, if it's an exclusive listing, it's not on the MLS system. So how do people know it's for sale? Well, the only way they know it's for sale is if they see your sign, or maybe a post that you made, or the people in your WeChat group. Okay. Well, this new article coming on January 1st in 3 months. Okay, starts January 1st. This new article is intended to address some concerns that the Canadian Real Estate Association has about people being given fair access to housing. Okay, so I mean, WeChat is an Asian platform, right? So what about if you're from the South Asian community and you don't use WeChat, and you've got a buyer who wants to buy that? Probably they're never going to know about it, right? Same with the South Asian WeChat, if they have. I don't think they do. Probably use WhatsApp, but if they did. So these little marketing groups are fine, but the concern is that people might not know places for sale, and that is hard for our reputation. It's also not that great for the seller. I mean, the seller needs as wide exposure as possible. Why just limit to one community? Like all the communities. So the thinking behind this rule is that you can still take a residential exclusive listing if you want. After January 1st, that's fine. So nobody's saying you can't have an exclusive listing if it's residential. But the rule does say that if you market that listing publicly, you have 3 days to put it on MLS. So what's public marketing? For sale sign, a WhatsApp post, an ad in the same town, right? Anything public. So if you take an exclusive listing here, you can tell everybody about your new listing. That's fine. You know why? Because the brokerage owns the listing. So all of you own that listing in a way. And so you can tell each other about it, no problem. But the minute you tell anybody outside this office about that new listing, it has to be listed on MLS in 3 days.
3 business days or calendar?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with business days. But I'm gonna have to write about it. I haven't written the article yet. So when I write it, then I'll learn. I'll write it for you.
So does it apply to the story post that last week for hours in your Instagram, Facebook,
Anywhere.
anywhere?
Yeah, social media, WhatsApp, sales sign, bus bench, smoke signals, radio, it doesn't matter, but it's only residential.
Does it apply to assignments? Because some assignments, the developers won't allow you to advertise.
Now, there's a good question. I'm gonna take that one away and have a think about that. Let's put it for an assignment. That's an exclusive listing. So I'm gonna just jump in there and say, I think it does apply, because it doesn't distinguish, exclusive listings except assignments. It just says exclusive listings. So if you list that assignment, it's an exclusive listing. If you advertise it, social media, WeChat, wherever, it's gotta be on MLS. Now, here's the problem. What will happen is, if the developer won't let you put that assignment on MLS, well, then we're not gonna make it. Because we need the consent of the developer or a letter from the developer saying, yes, I'm okay with you putting the assignment on MLS. If that's not possible, then I'm pretty sure the MLS part is gonna go, yeah, well, it should be on MLS, but we can't get permission, so it's a moot point.
So would that be applicable to regular residential as well? The seller won't allow you to draw them?
Oh, no, because an assignment's different from a listing where the seller actually owns a place, right? An assignment is, I'm going to own the place down the road. I don't know it yet. That's why you need the owner who's entitled to say, yes, okay. Big difference. Yeah, I mean, an assignment is really, you're just buying the right to step into somebody's shoes. That's it. You have nothing. You've got to, like it's air.
So does that mean there's no more exclusive listing allowed?
No, of course not. You can take an exclusive listing here, and you can market it to each other. Residential, okay, commercial, this doesn't apply to. Developers listings, this doesn't apply to. Just residential. So yes, you can take an exclusive listing, but if you put up a lawn sign or put an ad in the paper, that's public marketing. And if it's public marketing, it triggers the 3-day rule. Okay.
Like, for example, like a mass email to
No, that's fine. A mass email to your own clients, but nobody else's clients, and none of your other real estate agent friends from outside the company. Yeah, so it's just your buyer list, fine. Yeah, you got to send it somewhere. But if you want to include Remax or Sutton or any one of your other friends, then what's it called? Realty now?
Refil.
Yeah, Refil. Like they bought everything in town. Did you hear about that? They bought Team 3000. They bought La Homes. They bought Sutton. They bought who else?
Realty Alliance.
Realty Alliance. I like to buy everything. Maybe we'll buy you when you retire.
So if you advertise it to your own client list in your email campaign, whatever, then it's not, then you don't have to
Correct.
list it within 3 days.
That's correct, because it's not public marketing. You're marketing it to people on your list. But if anybody on that list is another real estate agent with another brokerage, that's public marketing. So take them out.
What about within this brokerage?
Yeah. Brokerage is fine because the brokerage owns the listing. The contract is between the seller and the brokerage, not you guys. You're the designated agents. So there's no difference here. Any listing that this company has, all of you kind of own it because you work for the company and the company owns the listing. I mean, be respectful of your colleagues. Start pretending it's yours, but technically it is the brokerage's listing. Yes.
Is there any exception because some seller due to the privacy of the
No.
reason they don't want?
No, Yeah, when this was being discussed, it was voted on last year at the annual meeting of the Canadian Real Estate Association with 110 real estate boards. And there are people jumping up and, there's always people in favor and people against. The people who were against brought that up. Well, what happens if my client's Brian Adams and, no one, he doesn't want that or less. And the president of CREA at the time said, I didn't know you guys had so many celebrity clients. That was, everybody go, well, what if it's so-and-so? No, okay, take an exclusive listing with Mr. Adams and promote it to your own clients. That's fine. The minute you tell somebody else about it, Mr. Adams has to go in the MLS system. He probably has a company.
How about some social media like page? It's called a big group page.
Public marketing.
Yeah,
That's public marketing. We just public. Okay, so
must
just your buyers. Okay. This is causing.
So like a one-on-one conversation on WhatsApp with another friend at Remax.
So you phone your pal Fred Smith at Remax, Crest or something, or whoever. That's a one-on-one conversation. It's not public, is it? That's a direct conversation with one person. You could do that, but a post on social media, distribution list to a bunch of people, sales sign, real estate ad, that's public. So CREA, in its wisdom, created this policy, and then it said, okay, we're done. It's up to the real estate boards to enforce it. Oh, thanks. So that's me. So I'm not actually thinking I'm going to get very many calls. I mean, I'm touch wood. Because we open complaint files based on complaints that we get. I don't go looking for complaints. Okay, I'm not like the secret police. If someone wants to make a complaint, they phone me. How many complaints do you think I'm going to get? Oh, he's got an exclusive listing. He advertised it publicly. The only time that's going to happen is if somebody doesn't like you and they notice that. Then they're going to phone me. So just make sure everybody likes you. Do that. Okay. So we made some changes to the rules of cooperation. Talk about that. And then we've got some cool stuff for you. Okay, I should have had that up. Sorry, I didn't have that up. I got excited. You started asking questions. You can distribute this if you want. You slide deck to everyone. That'll be your. Okay, so a big focus of the real estate board this year for the next. Years is some. You ever get a bunch of realtors in the room now? Go, oh, all the other guys aren't professional. They're bad. I'm good. They're bad. That conversation. We need to make it better. And the conversation usually includes things like, let's make it harder for more people to come in. You have to have a doctorate to get into the real estate business or something. And other people say, we need more fines. Some people say that. Okay. And so we're looking at all that, but some of that we can't do because we're not the regulator, obviously. But one thing we did do, and I wrote this last week, is did you make some wedding vows when you were with your husband? I promise to do everything he says. Yeah. Okay. That's called a vow. Was it in a church or was it in a civil ceremony? Civil ceremony. Okay. So if you make those wedding vows in a church or a temple, it's called a vow. If you make a public statement about what you're going to do or not do, that's an oath. So that's why the citizenship is an oath. When you become a Canadian, a new Canadian, take that oath. It's funny that guys like me never had to take the oath. So you take the oath if it's public and there's no religion involved. It's a vow if there's religion involved. So we're going with the oath. And really, they're very similar. I mean, a vow and an oath is something you say out loud with an audience. That's what makes it powerful because you are saying to people, this is what I'm going to do. And now you're accountable to them for what you said publicly. It's much different than a New Year's resolution where you say, I'm not going to eat Kit Kat bars anymore and never tell anybody. Who's going to know? if you start eating them in February, right? That you make a public oath. I will not eat Kit Kat bars for the whole of 2023. People can go, oh, you're eating a Kit Kat bar. So it's got quite a lot of power to it, moral power. And so we thought, let's write an oath so that at annual meetings of the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, we can all stand up and say, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. Okay, so taking that from the top, I am saying I will observe the letter, the spirit of my professional obligations. You know what that means? It means I will follow the exact wording of the rule. And I also won't look for a way around the rule. That's the spirit part, right? So you're saying, that's the rule, that's the requirement. It was created for a particular reason. So trying to get around it by doing something else, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow the rules in my heart and with my brain. Okay, that's the first one. Second one says, I will act with honesty and integrity. I took that from the Realtor Code. I just lifted it right out of the Realtor Code, stuck it in there. So that's nothing new. You've already agreed. When you became a realtor, you agreed to that already, whether you knew it or not. Okay. And then because we're agents, it seems like a no-brainer to say, I will protect the interests of my clients. Okay. Then this one is about conflicts of interest. Okay, so I will never let a private interest conflict influence my professional conduct. So the classic one is a double end deal, right? Unrepresented party, hearts beating. Well, fine if it's okay, if it's best for your seller. If it's not, you've agreed I'm not going to let my personal private interests conflict with the rights of my clients. We know that, we're agents, but it's a good place to know, don't you think? Okay, I will give accurate information and thoughtful guidance. You already agreed to do that in the Realtor Code. Seems obvious, right? But obvious things are good for oaths. And this one, the number one stuff that really upsets members is other members being rude, being late, not communicating promptly, and all the stuff that really bugs you about your colleagues. It's probably, something there. So I tried to capture with these words. It's very broadly worded. So you just go, I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to be polite. Even if I can't stand the person, I'm going to be civil to them. I'm going to treat everybody the same way, whether I like them or not. And I will return calls that can be interpreted that way. Okay, so that's what that is. And then let's see. Oh, you wouldn't be alone. A lot of members are confused about this. I want to just do a 5-minute thing on that, then you can ask questions. So they're totally different things. The word cancel is used for both, but they're totally different. So cancel protected listing means that it's been terminated by the seller and they've signed a cancellation form. Now there are two kinds of cancellation forms, aren't there? There's 60-day cancellation form. You can actually change that to 30 days. Maybe this can be 60. night. It could be one day. But with
So you can close the form.
Yeah.
And change the number of days.
Yeah.
The standard form is 70.
the standard 60, and that's there because that number works for most members. Because if the seller is trying to go around you, the thinking is 60 days is going to make it less likely.
365 days.
You could, but that would kind of defeat the whole purpose. And remember, that cancel period ends on the original expiry date of the listing. So if the listing expires 45 days from now, and you give them a 60-day cancellation, you actually only have, in reality, a 45-day cancellation. It's original expiry date. Okay, so a cancel protected listing is where the listing is ended, and the seller has an obligation to pay a commission to anybody found and introduced to the property for that protected period. It also means that the real estate court will not take a new listing for the same address until the 45 days or the 60 days has ended. But it is still canceled. Anyone can call that seller. Hey, you're allowed to call the seller and say, hey, would you like to list your property with me? I see the last guy didn't sell it for anything. How about if you give me a try? And the seller goes, yeah, okay. So at that point, you know, you're checking to see, was it an unconditional lease, which means there's no strings. You can list it tomorrow or today. That's fine. If it's got a protected period, then you need to talk to your broker about how to deal with that. You could list exclusive. Yeah, of course, if you try to market it, you gotta list it in less, which they pay. Right? Okay, so that's cancel protected. Privacy protected is totally different. That's where the seller has said in writing on a form, I don't want any other real estate agents to contact me about this property ever again. Okay, so until the sun becomes a supernova, 10 billion years from now, you can't contact that seller about that listing. You can talk to the seller about other real estate that they own or real estate that they want to buy. Or if the seller calls you, you can talk to them. The privacy protected means stop. So when you are doing your prospecting and you're going to call a seller, check the listing. If it says privacy protect, don't contact them because fines for doing that are about $10,000 right now. So if you have an assistant sending out mail-outs to expired sellers, expired listing sellers expired listings, that's a better way to put it. Don't send those out until you check the list, your mailing list. Check for privacy protected. Okay. Now the seller's agent's not the injured party, it's the seller. So we'd have to get a complaint from the seller. But you don't want to go down it. So if you're prospecting, you see privacy protected, don't contact that seller about that listing. Talking about other properties, but not that listing.
Actually, my question, should I ask after?
No, go ahead.
So when we do prospecting, like, you
Yeah.
know, we can have some other way, like, door knock, I don't know,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's just general door knocking. I didn't touch the word, like, in the
Yeah.
list, though I may know it, right? So,
Well, yeah, I have never had a complaint come up with that scenario. It would have to be the seller who complains, right? So I think if you could convince, so I can't speak for the committee and what they would think, but if you stand in front of the committee and say, look, I was door knocking in, you know, Victory Park in Richmond, I knocked on every door in that area. And this one, you know, it happened. I think you're going to be okay. But if you direct mail that seller or you phone them, you're not going to be okay.
Steve, when we cancel the listing, there is a consequence.
Right.
Exactly the same as this privacy. No.
No, they're totally different.
Uh,
Totally different. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'm going to deal with that stuff because I already did. Well, I have the answer. Okay, who's got questions? You have?
options?
Yes,
Direct mail and flyer this thing.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
I'm giving flyers to everyone else in the neighborhood, it's
Or if it lands on a privacy protected listing, you just make sure that disclaimer is on your flyer. This is not intended to induce a breach of existing agency agreement. And if you can show the committee, hey man, I send it to the entire postal. You're looking for direct solicitations of the seller who's asked not to be contacted. That's what's going to get them upset. A direct mail with a disclaimer on it. If you can prove you sent it to all over the place, you're okay.
Is there a period for the protect privacy?
No, as I said, until the sun becomes a supernova, you know, billions of years. You probably have to worry about the next 50. Okay, so for me, it's 20.
So if a house has privacy protection and it's like the 5,000 lots and you got the 4 already for the developer,
Right.
ready to go for that 75,
Can't call.
you can't contact them.
No.
So what if they?
But they can call you, and if they call you, they are overriding their own wish for privacy protection. You can talk to them because they called you. So I would document that. I would take a screen grab of the incoming call on my phone from their number or their text. I keep that because the seller's agent of that privacy protected listing, you know what they're going to think if they don't know you. They're going to, I gotta call myself. Right? So they're never going to believe that their client called you because they can't believe that their client would ever call anybody else, right?
Can you leave your business card in the mailbox?
That's the same as a letter. See, remember we talked about the spirit of the
Drop it on the
rules,
floor?
right? You follow the rule and the spirit of the rule. Yeah, we're a very creative group.
So follow up to Jason's question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so if the client calls the agent, the client calls me first.
Yeah.
Just the call. I call back.
Well, that's what they called you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can, look, again, I don't speak for the committee. They get to decide what they think. They're realtors just like you on the committee. But I think it would be kind of unreasonable if someone calls you and then you return their call for them to assume that you're somehow making a call to the seller and breaching privacy. They called you. But keep a record of that because some folks get really upset and they're looking to beat you over the head. So there's big fines. You don't want to get that.
For that situation, he already got the 4 listings. And then, this one is next to it. And you ask the owner of this neighbors to talk to them.
Remember what I said about the spirit of the rules? Okay. No, you know what?
They probably know each other. They probably will.
They probably do, and they can see your signs for the 4 places where it got listed. Pretty sure they're going to phone you anyway. And if they don't phone you directly, their agent will phone you. Then you get to the same place, right?
I had a scenario. I don't know whether I should ask you whether I
Go ahead.
complain that agent because I feel that it's not the right way. It's not, done professionally.
Okay.
With ethics because I had experience when we put the offer, the listing agent. So told one of the buyer's agent, of course, saying that okay. So we got some other offers, which is a little bit higher price than you.
Okay.
Would you like to raise it up?
Yeah.
And then if you raise up let's say a few thousand, you will get it.
Okay.
Okay. She said you will get it.
Yeah, that was a dumb thing
Okay.
to say.
So just the number,
I
right?
should have said you have a better chance of getting.
No.
No, she should have said that.
Oh yeah.
Better chance.
But she says you will get
You
it.
will get it.
But at the end, of course, that buying agent, the client didn't get it.
Yeah.
Right.
So was that, so is there any evidence of that statement? Was it in a text?
No, it's just.
Okay, so that's the thing. When I get a complaint, one where there's no evidence, I'm not saying this didn't happen, but the committee, they don't know you. They don't know the other person probably. There's no way to prove, right? It's called he said, she said. Very difficult to prosecute. You can make the complaint, but it's got a small chance of, it's just gonna be aggravating.
That's
And then
what
you're gonna
the
be
smart
mad at
thing
the
to
board
say,
for
yeah.
not doing something right. So I forget about it. But if you've got a text thread saying, yeah, you will get it. Oh yeah, well, that's a horse of a different color, as they say. Right? You can make that. We need evidence. So if you're having a problem with another member, start texting back and forth. You've got this thread or touch base, however you're communicating.
That's the way she's smart, just
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah, and you know, that may not be because this person is a bad person. It's sloppy language. And it's sloppy language that gets you into trouble. So you have a better chance of getting it if you come up 5 grand or more. If you really want to get them excited, come up 10 grand. But you know, I can't tell you what my seller's gonna do, but you got a better chance. Saying something like, yeah, come up and you'll get the place. That's a risky thing to say. It's a very sloppy language.
I have a question about, I have a question about, code of operation. So let's say I have a client interested in one of the listing in outside of Vancouver, let's say Prince George.
Okay.
And he is already in the town, but I'm
When you're here,
but he called me that he wants to see this listing.
Yeah.
So when I call the listing agent, he said, if you're not here, then you have to sign a form that you have to give 25% of the referral fee. Is
Yeah.
that
yeah, well,
ethical?
I'm gonna say no. And the reason for that is, it depends on what the reason is. But if the reason is, I don't like guys from Vancouver coming up to Prince George and trying to mow my lawn, so I'm gonna make you pay me a referral if you wanna see the place. Does his seller know about that? If his seller agrees with that and is fine with it, that's one thing. And client doesn't know. He's now in a conflict of interest, isn't he? He's putting there's lots of
I
things
do
about
have a lot.
yeah. I mean, what do you know about Prince George?
I was just not in Prince George at that time.
Oh, okay.
Usually I travel a lot.
Oh, do you?
But just for that,
Okay.
that case, and then he asked me to sign this form. I think it's not reasonable, so I
No.
talked to Sonia,
Yeah, and she would
About
talk to the broker. You talk-
and I think it's not reasonable to sign that.
Yeah, I think it is. I agree with you. But also I want to say, not to put this gentleman on the spot, but Article 12 of the Realtor Code says that we will not take on business if we can't properly handle it. And so if you don't know anything about Prince George, like you work in Richmond, and you just happen to know somebody in Prince George, but you don't know the Prince George market, you are licensed to buy or sell for someone up there. That's a bad idea for risk management. It's also contrary to Article 12 of the code. It says you will not take on business you can't properly service. So you find a Prince George agent, you phone them up and say, listen, I got a buyer. They want to buy in Prince George. Give me a referral. Here's my buyer's phone number. Sell them that listing. That's better for you from a risk management perspective. It's better for you. But I mean, if you're up there all the time, you know the market, that's different.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If somebody, the realtor, they are licensed to both sales and the rental. To take out the agreement with this agreement with them, and then I go for that client or either that client come to me for sale. Is that okay or is not?
Okay. So the rule number is rule 6.07. Just remember that number. It's a big long rule. You can read it. And also Article 20. Those are the two relevant standards to your question. And so the answer to your question is, it is not a breach. You are not interfering with someone else's agency relationship. If you are doing something different than the existing agency relationship your colleague has. So they got a release listing. You're trying to sell it. Two different things. So you're not interfering with them. Okay. Same for a seller. When you have a listing and your listing sells, your seller is going to become a buyer, right? Well, actually, you don't own that buyer. They're your seller, so no one can interfere with that. But technically, this man here can call your buyer if he knows and say, would you like me to find your house? I mean, it's kind of rude. You know, it's pretty harsh. But there's no technical breach because you have a contract for sale, not to buy. If you had an exclusive buyer's agency contract signed, then he would be having a problem. So yes, you see that in commercial all the time. If somebody has it for lease and they've got it for sale signed, two different companies, that's fine. Two different things. Yeah. Okay, did we run out of questions?
One more question, and for the land assembly.
Yeah.
Currently, they are the residential property, but in the future, maybe it's for rental building, for example, it's kind of commercial actually. So how to define what kind of listing it is? Is a residential one? Or is it commercial? You have something? Oh yeah, for land assembly, because
Well,
if people are more interested in rental building nowadays, with the GST and whatever it is. So it's
Yeah. I'm sure that I
just
understand. the
because it's
question.
a land, yeah. For example, it's 3 properties.
Yeah.
They are residential currently.
Right, but
But
it could be,
the buyers come to them and for the purpose to build a rental building.
Yeah.
Yeah, rental building is a commercial actually.
but it's not there yet.
But yeah, so it should be residential.
Yeah.
Still residential, it's like, it's consolidated to like.
Yeah.
So we say they want to flip it to another developer, then.
Yeah.
But if it's just on its own, then it's just still residential.
That's what it has plans and permits, with it now it becomes commercial. But you know what? I'm not really an expert in that field, and I want to give you a name of someone who knows more about this than me. I don't run the MLS department. I just take complaints. So there's a young man who's the new manager of the MLS department. His name is Daniel. He's an English guy. He's just got English accent. So it's Daniel Ryle, Ryall. Daniel Ryle. He's the guy who's going to phone you if your listing is not in compliance. He's the guy that you can talk to about, is this residential or is this commercial? He'll help you decide which category it should be in. Here, Sonia can phone him for you. Daniel, he's the guy you report listings to that say things like, gotta make an offer before you can see it. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen a listing that says you have to make an offer? Yeah, that's an illegal listing. You report that to the court, okay? Because they cannot do that. When you list on MLS, you are telling your colleagues they can see the place without precondition. Okay, so you report that. There's a report button on the listing, I think, and it goes straight to Daniel. He calls the broker and he says, okay, I've removed that statement from the listing. I can't do that. So we have to self-police the database because like there's 8 people in the MLS department, 35,000 listings. They can't look at everything. They trust that Sonia's admin staff. You know what you're talking about.
I've seen a few, especially many last year.
This data? Yeah,
It's just money in the remarks.
I know, and
Not all these things.
I know, and if you see that, please report it because Daniel will remove that statement. And then the phones will be all upset. Because you can't do that.
A lot of them don't know.
They
That's
definitely
all
don't know.
So the single number, section 3.2 can do.
4.02. Yeah, 4.02. Actually, no, excuse me. It's 3.22. Yeah, section 3 is listings. Section 4 Okay, so depending on the number,
And I'll touch about back to the cancel protection
Yeah.
and the privacy protection. We should inside the MS listing contract, right? The privacy contract form to sign.
that's correct, yes,
Correct. And then we got 4 boxes
yes,
on the same page.
that's right.
Always, is it always recommended to sign the last 2 boxes all out or like all?
The first 2 are there to humor the privacy commissioner because they're meaningless. Because we don't have a record of all of the buyers' database, we have a record of properties for sale but not buyers. It's just there to humor the privacy commissioner. I don't think anyone ever checks those first. It's always the third and fourth.
So it will say on the MS system, say private protection, right?
Yes.
And then
And we require that form and we actually file the paper form in the privacy department.
okay, one more thing, sometimes, let's say commercial, the seller doesn't want the company or the name on the listing, so sometimes say the seller name, blah, 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 blah. Can we just not disclose the name at all? We would always do.
It's got to be the name. And there's a reason for that. There's a couple of reasons, but the primary reason is the buyer agent needs to know what to put on the contract when they write it. It's not like they're not going to find out who it is. It's already public information. It's a land title office. Anyone with a credit card and a mouse can find out who owns that property. So it's not like it's a big secret. The seller doesn't know that. That's they go, oh, I don't want anybody to know. But they already know, or they can know if they want to pay $15.
But sometimes when we think about analysis, they start some conventional listings, so it's number, conventional, and then put it actually
And
side.
now it's exclusive. And then, yeah, you keep your information close.
So everything on that list is.
And well, that's got the seller's name. Well, look at that, 12 o'clock on the button. Thank you for inviting me. I wish you the very best. I'm gonna retire next May. Yes, I'm leaving. I'm gonna retire full time. Actually, I'm still gonna teach, okay, because I'll teach. I like to teach, so, but I'm tired of taking complaints. And I've been in the business since 1980. Okay, I'm gonna be 70 years old next June. So I thought, you know what? I want to play with my cards, play with rules, you know, watch my granddaughter and stuff. So I'm going to stop my full-time employment. I'll just start teaching. So there'll be an announcement when they start looking for a new person to take over my position. Maybe they'll say, maybe they'll change it. So you know, you've got me until May. After that,
Who's gonna take over?
they haven't posted the job. It's kind of interesting because I thought that a lot of people would be phoning me because we made an announcement saying I'm leaving in July. I thought my phone would be ringing me. Realtors go, yeah, I'd like to do your job. No one's called. No one wants to be me.
I remember seeing your newsletter when I first started business, 2003.
Yeah,
It
when
must
I-
be
when I started at the
your
board,
face on the first page. It's got
looked a lot younger than
the same picture. It
it.
was a little bit black and white, so I can see your white.
Yeah. That's right. Still have it, so that's pretty good. No, I was 1980, August 1980 is when I got my license.
43 years.
But it's long enough to think. But you guys get tired of me. It's time for a younger person to come with new ideas. I don't know anything about social media. No, I don't. I don't have Facebook, Instagram, WeChat. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't want it. I don't know it. And but really, someone in my job, they should understand. I'm kind of like an old dinosaur that they put up with. So it's time to move. Yes. Well, I teach PDP classes, so I do risk management for realtors. I just actually taught that. I do a course on the rules of cooperation. I'm teaching that on Friday. I do one on advertising. I do the realtor code for this 4 courses. I might write one more. I'm trying to think of an idea to write a course. part of my retirement.
Do you teach at the board?
I teach via Zoom mostly, but I'm going to Chilliwack on Wednesday. They actually want me in person. It's weird.
Do you want to see
So
it?
used to Zoom, because I'll put this on the top. And then I'll have sweatpants. They'll be like, "Oh, it's good from up here." That's right. The newscasters do the same thing, right? They have a jacket, like a jeans. Anyway, you got business to do. What you're going to do. I wish you the very best. Maybe see you around sometime. Okay, this is for the Taylor Swift tickets.
If you have one, we'll give it to you. So let's go off on the attendance today.
It will be a $50 cactus gift card.
No,